Weird News Weekly with Ben and Reid.
We are back officially, Ben and Reid, for Weird News Weekly. It's the Weird News Weekly era now, Reid.
How cool is this? Something we've been looking forward to for a long time.
Yeah.
Finally, we're getting a chance to do it as a podcast-only thing. It's pretty
It's
cool.
a podcast-only thing. If you were listening to the show previously, it was Wednesday Drive and we were affiliated with a certain radio station, but now we're doing this all on our own via a Skype connection with our microphones and laptops and all that kind of stuff. So, still talking the same stuff that you used to, all the weird news and all that kind of stuff. And also now there's more places that you can actually find us because we're also on not only Soundcloud and Stitcher for the audio version of the podcast, but also on iTunes now as well, which is pretty cool because that's the place to be a podcast.
Exactly right. So the only place we're not on anymore is Facebook.
Yeah.
It's like the only social media we are not on.
We are on Twitter as well, at Weird News Weekly on Twitter. You can also find us on Tumblr, weirdnewsweekly.tumblr.com. And right there is something pretty cool that we want to start getting involved with in the show as well. You can actually leave us a voicemail and we'll kind of get your opinions on some of the stories that we've been talking about. So if you want to, have your opinion on one of our stories that we've covered, jump on the Tumblr accounts, weirdnewsweekly.tumblr.com. You'll find a little widget on the side of the page there on your desktop, and just click that widget, and just like that, you can leave a 90-second voicemail for us all.
It's all about feedback. I love it.
Yeah, and we'll be playing those voicemails at the start of every show whenever we get them through as like a little bit of a mailbag segment right there. And there's plenty of stuff to come in our future, so we're pretty excited about what's going on right now. As far as stories on today's show, though, is concerned, I have a story about Weet-Bix over in China, Reid. This is a bit of a weird one. It seems that over in China, Weet-Bix are actually selling for a lot more than they are here in Australia.
Wow, a lot more.
Yeah, a lot more. We'll get a bit more about that soon. As well as that, Will Smith has officially apologised for one of his films, saying he knows it was terrible and he's sorry.
Oh, that could be any number of films he's done. So
well, if it was Adam Sandler, for example, it could be apologising for a lot of films. But, Will Smith, he's had, kind of some really good ones, not so great ones. But which one was, so bad that he's thought to himself, yeah, I better apologise for that one now. But what do you got on your side of things?
Well, KFC, I like talking about these guys. They've always got some new innovation creations, and one of their new creations is a box which you can charge your phone with.
Oh, wow.
But the box contains your food. So I don't know how that's going to work. So we'll discuss
so
more about
grease
that.
and electricity.
Yeah, I don't think I really thought it through.
No,
so it's an interesting one, but we'll look more about that soon. Also, there's a woman from Texas. Mm-hmm. She had surgery, and it was relatively minor surgery, but she woke up from it with a different accent.
Oh, wow.
She's in Texas, and she woke up with a different accent. And it's not an American accent. It's a completely different accent altogether.
Okay.
So it's a weird one. Also, I'm going to talk about, there's a new building over in downtown New York.
Yeah.
And they've got this slide which goes on the outside of the building from one floor to another. Mm-hmm. So you know how in Melbourne they've got the Eureka Tower, they've got that skybox thing where you sort of go out. Well, it's like that, but with a slide. So you're going from one level to the bottom level in the form of a slide.
That sounds crazy.
So they really want to scare people. Well, that's one way to do it. And also, finally, my high school reunion.
Wow.
I got the invite a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I want to see if there's any relevance in today's world with high school reunions.
Okay.
Because I don't think we have Facebook, we have all kinds of other social media platforms. Do we really need to catch up with a high school reunion? So I'll talk more about that later in the show.
Now, of course, as we said, follow along with the show at Weird News Weekly on Tumblr, weirdnewsweekly.tumblr.com, and also at Weird News Weekly on Twitter. And you can even watch us now on YouTube. Did we mention the YouTube part of things?
I don't think we did.
There's so much stuff going on.
Such a big change. We didn't mention it at the top of the show.
Yeah. Find us, Weird News Weekly on YouTube. You can actually see our faces whilst we're doing this show as well and watch kind of a video podcast version of the show. But more to come for you soon. Reid, we are talking about Weet-Bix right now, Sanitarium Weet-Bix. Who would have thought that, something as plain Jane as Weet-Bix would pop up in, weird news culture?
Very boring Weet-Bix, very plain flavoured. Can't imagine that this would get a lot of talk.
Well, if you're not sure what Weet-Bix are, they're basically these whole grain little wheat bricks that you dunk in your milk for breakfast in the morning. It's kind of like cereal, but just bricks of cereal that you break up yourself and you put a little bit of Milo or something over the top of them, depending on how your tastes differ on what you like your Weet-Bix with. But basically what's going on here is over in China, they're selling for so much more than they actually sell here in Australia for some reason. And when I say so much more, it's like so much more. It's ridiculous.
Now, I'm going to call myself out. I've got no idea how much they're worth in Australia. I'm assuming, what, $5, $7?
Well, yeah, depending on the size of the box that you actually get, it can be anywhere from, like, I think $2.50 for the tiny box, or if you get the big, like, 1.1 kilo boxes that you can get from Woolworths or something like that, they're about $5.50. So they're really not all that costly as far as, you know, a breakfast cereal is concerned, because it's literally just bricks of wheat. But with that, over in China, the reason why this has actually come about is because they were featured on a well-known Chinese drama series over there, just sitting like on the kitchen table or in the kitchen somewhere in the background of this TV show. And the culture with this kind of stuff is that crazy over there, like this fandom culture, that everyone was just like, oh my goodness, I have to have that cereal in my house right now so I can be just like those guys on that Chinese drama show.
It wasn't like some sort of subliminal advertising. It was just plain right there on the kitchen bench. And
well, yeah, it could be one of those things where they, you know, subliminally advertised it and everyone else is just kind of going, oh my goodness, I have to get on board this. This is the most amazing thing ever.
Now, this isn't the first sort of thing to be the big thing over in China, because over recently in Australia, we've been talking about this. Mm-hmm. There was that whole baby formula thing, which I still think is quite popular at the moment. Like they're actually there's a chemist near where I live. They've got like signs saying you can only buy certain amounts of baby formula every day. Mm-hmm. So that's still a big thing. And there's also a new one. I don't know if you're aware of this. Paw Paw.
Yeah. I was reading about that one here.
Yeah, now that's like in that little red tube.
Yep.
I'm not sure where it was featured over in China, but that was massive as well. But I've got to say, this Weet-Bix one you've brought to me, very, very unusual.
Now, we haven't gone through the price difference here just yet. Reid, I want to get a guess from you. What do you think the prices would be that people are buying a box of Weet-Bix for at the moment?
Over in China?
Yeah.
Oh, look, I reckon probably about, I don't know, $15. Because you said a bit more. I mean, that's $15, $25 at the most. Surely not.
Will I play Larry Ender here and say higher?
Higher?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Well, it's kind of become like a black market thing over there, and it's like they're being sold on like eBay and other sites such as eBay, for example. And believe it or not, people are paying upwards of $50 for a box of Weet-Bix just so they can have them in their house and be like this Chinese soap opera.
Oh my God. $50 for Weet-Bix.
$50.
Most plain eating cereal you can eat.
Yeah, and it's kind of this whole thing. There's a lot of fandom over in China at the moment as far as Australian products are concerned. They really like our Aussie products, and every time they see them in a TV show or something like that, like the Paw Paw ointment, like the Weet-Bix now, they're all just going, oh my goodness, I have to have this product. It's so amazing.
So maybe this is like the new way of advertising for companies in Australia to sell your stuff. Forget about advertising here in Australia. Get your stuff featured over on a TV show or film over there, and it will sell.
Well, that's what they're actually saying. They're thinking that this could be a big boom as far as Australian business is concerned. If all these products keep getting featured in TV shows, the more we will actually sell them over in China, and probably for a bigger price or a more expensive price, because they are so much in demand and we have to send so much over there.
I mean, of all the things to be selling, what do you think could be the next big thing they could feature over there? Because I've got to say, Weet-Bix, I never thought would be as popular a thing over there, but obviously it is.
We know that Vegemite's never going to be the one. Like, that's just never going to happen.
Only in Australia it's popular. Yeah. Overseas, it's not popular at all.
It's kind of a hard one to pinpoint, really, because would it be a food thing, or would it be like a body care thing like your Paw Paw ointment is, or what's the next thing going to be? What is iconically Australian? Will Dunlop volleys take off over there, for example?
Possibly. Maybe the Lamington might get a run over there.
Yeah,
but it's an interesting one to think of. Yeah, so I don't know, this whole Weet-Bix thing, because there was a photo during the rounds on social media during the week with a guy up in, I think, Melbourne somewhere, and he had a trolley full of Weet-Bix, and there was only Weet-Bix in the trolley, and there's about 50 boxes of Weet-Bix in this trolley.
Yeah.
does he like Weet-Bix? Is he working for like a cafe and he's just buying them for his store? But obviously not.
Well, because it's even one of those things where, like, a lot of Chinese celebrities are coming over to Australia for a holiday, for example, and they'll buy a product here in Australia that's not available over in China, and they'll show it on their Instagram feed, and automatically everyone's going, oh my god, it's amazing, need to have it right now because such and such has got it, and they're plugging it on their Instagram feed.
So maybe we just need to start selling our stuff over there. Just
Yeah.
I don't know. It's such a weird one.
It could really
Weet-Bix.
be a huge industry boom, I think.
I think we could be onto something here. We need to think of certain products. Maybe if there's a company not doing that well in Australia, get their products over there, and all of a sudden, cha-ching!
Maybe Dick Smith, for example. He's been plugging his different products that he has around the supermarket for years now, and they haven't been doing the best. But because they're iconically Australian, being a Dick Smith brand, maybe he can, spread the joy over there in China.
Possibly. Maybe the new way of entrepreneuring is getting your stuff over there.
Yeah, possibly. But if you'd like to let us know your thoughts on this story, maybe suggest something that you think could be the next big thing to go crazy over in China, head on to our Twitter account, @WednesdayDrive on Twitter, or head over to the Tumblr page as well, Weird News Weekly on Tumblr, and just leave us a voicemail right there and let us know your thoughts. Now, Reid, I've already stuffed up, as we've probably just all figured out. I'm still in old school mode. I just said head onto our Twitter account, @WednesdayDrive. It's not anymore, because that's not our show now. It's @Weird News Weekly on Twitter. So, @Weird News Weekly on Twitter, weirdnewsweekly.tumblr.com to get all our show notes and all that kind of stuff, all the stories that we've covered right there, and leave us a voicemail on our Tumblr page. But, on to the next story, and fingers crossed we don't revert back to our old ways.
Quick tangent though. I didn't pick up on that, by the way. So
Yeah.
that was both of us.
It was that
Even though you
quick.
said
It was just seamless.
Yeah, I know. We're into old habits. We've got to remember. Weird News Weekly. Now, there's a story that I want to talk about. Mm-hmm. Now, on our former show, I was a big fan of food stories, and that's not going to change.
Yeah, no.
I'm still going to be bringing food stories every single time I can. Well, there's a new one, KFC. Now, they are very familiar with all kinds of new products. They've got new menu all the time, and this one isn't necessarily food, but it's sort of food related. Mm-hmm. Bear with me, I will explain. As we all know, we all go into these places with our phones. Most people often upload their photos of their meals to social media. I'm not one of those. I never will be one of those people. But it seems it's very popular with people. It is catching on, the whole, taking a photo of your food. Well, the KFC are trying to sort of cash in, I guess, on a way. They've got a new product. It's called the What-A-Box. Now, what it is essentially a product where it's the box that contains your KFC food.
Yeah.
And you can charge your phone. So it comes with a little cable.
See, now I think that this is already going to be a big mistake on their part, because grease and electricity don't really mix all that well together.
I don't think they've done a lot of market research
on
this, because, they're trying to come up with a new innovative way of trying to get people in the doors, and good on them for that, but I don't think this is the way to go.
The box would have to be lined very carefully for things to not get mixed in with each other and explode, you'd have to think.
Well, there's a company there's a website that have done a bit of research on this. They're called Popular Science, and they've looked into this. Apparently, the box is made of cheap components.
Great.
So the actual box, so the box that is actually responsible for charging your phone isn't really the best product they're using in terms of all the little wires and the components that it takes in order to, charge your phone. So they've already had a lot of people who have had problems with not charging properly. But this is what I took away from the story. There was one guy that after half an hour, he only had a 17% battery increase.
Really?
For half an hour, 17%. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know if that's worth it. You might have a low battery on your phone, but are you really going to go in there just to charge your phone for a 17% increase for half an hour?
Well, considering how quickly that 17% would decrease again once you've started using your phone, is it really worth it?
I don't think it is.
Yeah, no.
Because there's all kinds of products where you can actually go into places to charge your phone and you get a much better battery increase. There was something, a little bit of a tangent here, but there was something at the Melbourne show last year where they've got this mobile unit thing where if you're at the show, you could, leave your phone on this mobile charging unit for an hour, and I think they would charge you $10. And it gives you like a 50% battery increase, apparently.
Oh, okay.
So, maybe that's we often do talk about how the iPhone especially has terrible battery percentage if you use it for more than 5 minutes.
Uh-huh.
So this could be a way to go, but it's just the thing of KFC is often greasy food, as is often the case with a lot of these fast food places. But KFC, with the greasiness of all the chips and the burgers, and then you'll be touching your phone.
I think the way that they could have better gone about this, as far as coming into KFC and you can get your phone charged and all that kind of stuff. Just put like a charging dock on each table, like build it into each table in the actual restaurant and, make it like that. Because then everyone can just kind of plug their phones in whilst they're sitting around the table, rather than having the novelty of a box that they're supposed to go, oh yeah, let's charge it in this and risk the chance of frying our phone completely, no pun intended.
You and your puns. And the thing is that a lot of places got free Wi-Fi, which I think will always get people through the doors, no matter what you're selling. You could be selling food or lawnware or chairs, whatever you're selling. Free Wi-Fi, people will come in. So maybe they haven't tried that before, but maybe that could be a new initiative. But a mobile phone charger with your KFC box, I don't know. Now I haven't said where they're making this, because often these is not happening in Australia. It's actually happening in India.
Oh.
In Mumbai and Delhi.
Okay.
So
is it no racial stereotyping here, but is that why there's cheap components involved?
Well, I'm not going to put two and two together, but maybe that is the case. But yeah, it's an interesting one. But over there, they're trialling it. Now, they're not saying how long the trial will last for, but I reckon this won't be successful at all.
No.
That's just my point on it. I just can't see it working.
Because what was the other thing that they tried to do a little while ago? They had Scoffy, which was the edible coffee cup, and then there was something else after that they tried to get off the ground as well, and it just died miserably. But
they've got all manner of products.
Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head what it was.
No, but it is on one of our past shows. So just search KFC on our past shows and you'll find.
Go back into the archives of our shows and you'll find them right there in the Wednesday Drive era of the show that we're not part of anymore, because now we're Weird News Weekly.
Yeah, but it's definitely there though. So look, good on them for a new innovative way. I like the name though. What a box.
Yeah.
But as far as the actual product itself goes, I don't think it's going to work.
I don't like the chances of that one lasting or standing the test of time, I should say. But if you want to get more info on that story, check it out right now at our Tumblr account, Weird News Weekly on Tumblr, and leave us a voicemail right there as well with your thoughts on the story. And you can also get this one at the Twitter account, Weird News Weekly on Twitter as well. Hey Reid, we are looking at Will Smith right now. He's actually apologised for one of his films back in the 90s. And this it's a bit of an odd one that a celebrity has come out and apologised for something that they've done in the past as far as things that they've made for entertainment purposes.
I'm sort of a bit surprised as to what he's apologising for, because presumably he'd just be, an actor in a film. He wouldn't have written the film or directed the film. He's just in the film.
Well, it seemed like back in the 90s, Will Smith kind of had this whole thing down pat. Like, he'd release a movie, he'd release an accompanying rap tune to go with it, and then he'd just sit back and watch them all skyrocket on the charts and at the box office. And Wild Wild West is the movie that he wants to apologise for from back in 1999. Now, the reason that he wants to apologise for this is apparently because he knows it was terrible, but they just put it out there in the first place. And yeah, it apparently made $220 million plus at the box office, but the critics absolutely hated it. They labelled it as a half-baked adventure, and it has 17% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes, which is not good at all.
Now, is there a reason why he's come out now and said, I'm sorry for that film? Because that film was done a long time ago. Why come out in 2016 and say, I'm sorry for that film?
I think because he's getting a lot older and wiser now that he's kind of, going, okay, things that I was doing back in the 90s weren't necessarily 100% sustainable, like for a long, good career. And, with that, he has apologized for the film, saying that he was more concentrated on winning at the time rather than, putting out a decent film, because he just had, the success of Men in Black and then was trying to recreate that success with the rest of the films that he was making at the time. So he was churning out all these movies because he was the the hot property in Hollywood there and then, and he was like, okay, got to get these movies out and win at the box office and win on the charts, and it just kind of ended up being a bit of a schmozzle for him as far as this whole thing was concerned.
Because I've actually, to this day, I've never seen Wild Wild West. I have no intention of seeing it.
I've only seen bits of it, like here and there whenever it's on TV, and I'm just like, that's Wild Wild West, doesn't really interest me much.
But it was made back in, what year was it? 1999.
Yeah.
So it's, it's very old now. I mean, it doesn't have a lot of relevance in today's film world.
And if you remember correctly, the song that went along with this one was with Cisco, who sang the thong song.
Oh, jeez.
And it was actually, they sampled a Stevie Wonder song, the I Wish Those Days Could Come Back Once More song. And then it was just Wild Wild West put over the top of it. It was kind of weird, but it was still a catchy song at the time. But now we look back at it and go, man, that's super corny.
And back in those days, people were eating it up all the time. He'd release anything, it would buy it. So, interesting way. I was actually going to ask what film he was apologising for. There's a film that it's not actually him performing in, but it's him voicing in.
Okay.
Because he does a few voiceover stuff. Do you remember the film? This is going back to 2004. Do you remember a film called Shark Tale?
Oh, yeah, vaguely, yeah.
Yeah, don't see it. It's pretty awful.
Uh-huh.
As far as animation films goes, but I'm just going through the list now of all the films that he's been in. He was in Annie back in 2014.
Oh, really?
Yeah, apparently he was in Annie.
Okay.
It's like a film remake, they've done all kinds of ones. I'm just
that was the one with Jamie Foxx, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was one he was also in, but there's also many others. And there was that film a few years ago with Kevin James. I think it was Hitch. That's the film.
Yep.
That was a shocking film.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that on TV, and I really wish I didn't.
The one of his that people are saying is the absolute worst is the one that came out just a couple of years ago, I think it was, with his son Jaden. It was called After Earth. And, they were exploring all these other potential places that they could live or something like that after Earth was, basically a wasteland now.
I had heard of that film,
yeah.
And I haven't seen it, but, sounds bad.
Every time that film gets mentioned in conversation, a whole barrage of people just come around and just go, oh, that film was terrible. What was he thinking with that movie? And I remember seeing the trailers for it at the time, and I was like, this actually looks really good. And, it was just very good editing as far as the trailer was concerned, apparently.
The old trailer that looks good, but the actual film is terrible. We've all done that before.
So it's kind of, making me think of the question, who are some of the other actors that are lead roles in movies that you think should apologise for the films that they were in?
Ooh, I like these putting me on the spot questions. There's so many films that have been released recently, and I'm just going to put it out there. I know this is going to be the obvious joke of the day, but anything to do with Adam Sandler trying to not be funny, but trying to be dramatic, because he actually does the opposite, where he is trying to be the dramatic role. I think he should just stick to the awful comedy roles, because that's what he's suited for and that's what he's best at. So don't do the drama films, Adam Sandler.
Well, the Netflix release that he had a little while back, The Ridiculous Six, I thought that was going to be the most terrible movie ever, and it was actually one of his better ones.
I'm with you on that one. I saw that a few months ago. I was really surprised. I thought, this is actually not that bad.
Now, someone who is actually part of his film company, and a name that you mentioned just a little while back, was Kevin James. One of the movies I think Kevin James should apologise for is Paul Blart Mall Cop 2.
Oh.
Not so much number one, because number one had some novelty fun to it, but number two was just, don't even go there, that thing is terrible.
I didn't think it was popular enough to have a sequel. I mean, some films deserve a sequel, but that one, I thought, why would you make a sequel out of it? Yeah, it's just a guy in a mall.
It seemed like a very odd choice for sure.
Oh, yeah. But he's very odd in it. So.
Another person who I reckon should apologise for one of their films is Jason Biggs, star of American Pie. I reckon he should apologise for My Best Friend's Girl. Because that movie was the biggest piece of crap I've ever seen. It had, what's the other guy's name? Dane Cook. He was in it as well. I reckon a lot of Dane Cook films are just like, terrible. But, yeah.
He's terrible.
But is there any off the top of your head you can think of any more?
Not off the top of my head, but if you give me, I'm gonna after we finish, I'm gonna Google some terrible actors, and look at their films they've been in. I'm gonna tweet a list of all their terrible films.
Well, we would love you to leave us a voicemail at our Tumblr page. Leave us a voicemail right there and tell us which lead actors you think should apologise for some of their films in the past. weirdnewsweekly.tumblr.com, and you can get the details on this story there, as well as at Weird News Weekly on Twitter as well. And get involved with the show. So, Reid, this is a bit of a weird one about a mother over in, where's she from? From
Texas.
From Texas. She's woken up speaking in a different accent.
Yeah, she had surgery on her jaw about 6 months ago. And for some reason, this story is only sort of gaining attention now. I would have thought as soon as it happens, maybe that's when it would have happened. But anyway, this happened 6 months ago. She had surgery on her jaw. At the time, the doctor said it was very minimal surgery, but it had to be done. Anyway, after she woke up from her operation, she, was asked all the questions. Do you know who you are? What day is it? What year is it? But she wasn't answering in her usual Texan accent.
Right.
I don't know if that's a Texan accent. I don't think it was. But no, she actually started to speak British. Now, she was speaking English, but with a British accent.
That's really odd.
I know, but of all the accents to speak, British. Now, she's never been to the UK. She doesn't have any association with the UK. She doesn't know anyone there. But for some bizarre reason, she was speaking British.
Now, obviously, if she'd had, brain surgery or something like that, then you can tap into those regions of the brain where you might accidentally tweak something that alters a little bit of your speech or something like that. But having surgery on your jaw, was it some sort of nerve that goes back to the brain or something like that they've nicked or whatever?
Well, the doctors aren't saying, but the surgery she was correcting an overbite.
Okay.
So much like, kids get when they have to get braces, once you get to a certain age, braces isn't really the right procedure, so they have to have surgery to correct the overbite. But for some reason, it's done this. Now, doctors have actually said it is unusual for this to happen. Oh, duh. But the weird thing is, it actually has a name, and I've written it down. It's got an unusual name. It's got foreign accent syndrome.
Okay.
Now, that's, not that technical of a doctor's term, I would have thought. But this is the weird one. This has happened once every 100 years. Or every 100 years, it's always happened.
Yeah.
So they've looked into it, but it's just very bizarre. Because the thing this story sort of there was something in my brain that just clicked. I just reminded. There was a guy over in America who had surgery. I don't know what surgery he had, but when he woke up, he started rapping. Everything he was talking about, he was rapping. And they were they were asking him all these, generic questions, what's your name, who are you? And he started rapping everything. My name is John, and I've just woken up from surgery. And he started speaking like that, but in a much more, rapping accent. But
it'd be so good if, everything that they asked him before he answered back, he was just like, yo, drop the beat. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, that's tight. Yeah, I like that.
But the thing is, though, she was so annoyed about this situation that happened to her because a lot of her friends thought, she's putting it on, she's having a joke.
Yeah.
But this has been going on for 6 months.
Wow.
I mean, it's pretty bad for this to happen for a few days, but go on to 6 months. I mean, go into your everyday life. She probably has a job and she might be talking to people on the phone. And, based in Texas, I can't imagine there's a lot of British people over there.
Considering, though, it's a British accent and it's been going on for as long as it has, do you reckon they should change this one to Madonna syndrome? She's kind of had that thing going on as well where she just woke up one morning and she was like, hey, I'm Madonna, and for some reason I'm talking in a British accent now.
I reckon you might be onto something there. So maybe that's what this is. But no, less than 100 people worldwide have actually got the condition. Now, that's what I was trying to say earlier. less than 100 people have the condition. So Lisa, her name is Lisa, and she said in an interview recently, she said, I didn't know the reaction I was going to get from people, so I didn't know if they were going to judge me. Now, we are a very judgmental society, I suppose, but going on for 6 months, speaking fluent in that accent, in a fluent British accent, it must be very bizarre for her family, especially her young little kids who, she's got a few little kids around and growing up with her mum all of a sudden speaking British. The doctors at the moment have got no way of trying to get her back to speaking in a Texas accent. Yeah. But if you had to wake up from surgery, would you just have a laugh? Would you say, I'm gonna flip, I'm gonna pretend
People are just going to start doing this now for a bit of a laugh and just be like...
I reckon they are.
Someone just wakes up from surgery like, hey bro, I just got up from surgery, bro. I had my spleen worked on, mate, eh?
This is going to set a whole precedent of people now just trying to fool their friends and family with different accents.
Yeah.
So I reckon this is good happening. The thing that got me, though, was that, it's been going on for 6 months now. I mean, surely something's got to give. But obviously not, so...
Well, when you think about it, though, that could actually rub off on the rest of her family. Because, obviously, if I'm an Australian person and I move over to the US, for example, and I'm hanging around with people from the US all the time, I will start to develop a little bit of a US twang on my Australian accent. So will her kids, will her husband start to develop a little bit of a British twang on their US accent? From being around her all the time? Or vice versa, will she slowly start to fall back into Texas accent because she's around them all the time?
Possibly. I mean, there was that story during the week of the basketballer Ben Simmons, who is Australian, but he's been over there for a while now, and he's got a real American accent on him. So maybe that's just the case of if you spend enough time in a different country.
Well, his dad's American as well. So obviously, they came over to Australia when he was brought over here as a Melbourne Tigers basketball import. And so, American family that came over to Australia. He was born in Australia, so he's technically Australian. They became Australian citizens whilst they were over here. And now he's gone back over there, but been surrounded by American accents his whole life. So it seems a bit more natural, I guess.
There was an Australian actress who spent a bit of time over in America, Tammin Sursok. I really wish I didn't know that name at all, but I do. Because she was over there on one of the American soaps. I think it was The Young and the Restless.
Yeah.
And she was on that show for a while. And within a few months, I'm talking less than 6 months, she had a full-on American accent when she wasn't even on the show. So she'd be in her day-to-day life, and she was doing interviews for, Australian shows, like morning shows and all that sort of stuff, with an American accent. I thought,
weird.
You're not American. You don't have any American parents. You've only been there for a few months, and you've already lost your Australian accent. I mean, Eric Bannon spent time over there, and he's full-on Australian. So what's your excuse?
Well, even Portia de Rossi, for example, she's from Melbourne. From Geelong, actually, where we're from.
Yeah, one of our own. Yeah.
So, it's kind of like, this girl from Geelong who didn't go over to the US until she was like 18 or 21 or something like that. And now all of a sudden she has this full-on thick American accent whenever she's talking.
It's very bizarre that, this is an actual condition that this is going to happen, where you wake up from surgery and you actually have this. You're not putting it on, you're not tricking your mates, you actually have it. So, look, I feel for her. I hope she gets her, Texas accent back, because, the Texan accent, it's such a funny accent to listen to. So, good on her, but, British accent. I don't know. I think I would have gone for a different accent if I had the choice.
Well, if you want
French.
Maybe French.
Yeah.
How would the French accent have gone, Reid?
Oh, bonjour, my name is Reid. I come from France.
I love it how you straight away kind of go into the gravelly, yes. kind of realm of the whole
stereotyping, aren't I?
Yeah. At Weird News Weekly on Twitter if you want to check out the details on that story, and to leave your feedback on that story as well, and give us a message with that one. You can leave a voicemail for us as well. weirdnewsweekly.tumblr.com. You'll find all those details right there. So, Reid, over in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Why was that a tongue twister for me? Montreal, Quebec, Canada.
That's not a massive lie.
Yeah, I know. But over there is a guy who has enlisted the help of a wild squirrel for a bit of amateur dentistry. And immediately when I said squirrel, everyone's just gone, squirrel!
Squirrel!
Of course, from the movie Up, if you're not familiar with that reference. But basically what's going on here, he has enlisted the help of this wild squirrel to help remove his daughter's loose tooth. And he's actually proclaimed that they're the first person in history to ever try and attempt this. Obviously, of course, in the past, people would have, tied a bit of dental floss to their tooth and then tied that the other end of the dental floss to a doorknob or something like that, slam the door, the tooth comes out of your mouth. Or you just go to your dad, hey, I've got this loose tooth, can you pull it out, please? And he'll just go, okay, and then just pull it out for you. I know that's how it happened quite a few times for me during my childhood. It was just like hanging by a thread, and I'm just like, Dad, can you just end this for me? And he's just like, yep, no worries. Done.
That was just part of growing up. Nowadays, people do that as a dare.
Yeah, exactly. But what he's done here, he's actually tied a bit of dental floss around his daughter's tooth. And she was sitting there in the park on a park bench, and he has tied the other end of that piece of dental floss to a bit of like a granola bar and sat it there on the ground. And a squirrel has come over and got a bit intrigued by this granola because they just hunt for scraps everywhere. It's come over, grabbed this bit of granola and tried to pull it away. Didn't quite budge, so the squirrel's used all its might to, eat this granola and get it away from the humans, and in doing so, has actually pulled the tooth out of the girl's mouth.
Oh. Is there any vision of this anywhere?
There is actually vision of this. We'll be posting vision of this at the Twitter account and on our Tumblr page as well.
Oh, that'll give you nightmares.
It's a bit of a weird way to go about things. I mean, when you were a kid and you had a loose tooth, were you the kind of kid that just waited it out until it fell out by itself, or did you use any of these kind of ways to get it out a little bit quicker?
Mate, I didn't have a good pain threshold at all. So as soon as I would let that, wriggle, and as soon as it would wriggle, and it would just wriggle for a long time, and I was not going to yank it out or pull it out. So my pain threshold back in those days was terrible. So no, I wasn't going to yank it out like this clown did. Mm-hmm. So what about you? Did you have any...
I would often try and roll them around in my mouth just with my tongue as much as I could. Like it's kind of sitting there in the socket and it's still like a little bit loose and it's kind of just hanging on by a thread. So I just get my tongue up there and just roll it around just a little bit and just like wait and see if it came loose. And like every now and then it would actually come loose, but after a while it just would get annoying. If it didn't, I'd just be like, Dad, got another one. Can you take it out, please?
Well, I remember growing up, I had braces as a school kid, which is give me grief from all the school kids back in those days. But when I had my braces on, there was one of my teeth, and it was coming loose, and it had a brace, full-on brace on it, so it was connected to all the other teeth. So we had to yank it out.
Oh wow!
It was painful. It was one of these back ones, and it just wouldn't come out. And we had to yank, go into the orthopedic surgeon or whatever, and he had to, yank it out, and had the braces on it, and it was really painful. It really hurt.
Oh my goodness!
But it had to be done. I know. Things you do when you're a kid.
I want to know from you as well, like as far as when you have a loose tooth and it came out, and you waited for the tooth fairy, for example. What was the process in your household as far as how the tooth fairy delivered the money and picked up the tooth and all that kind of stuff? Because a lot of people have been talking about this recently, and I feel like a lot of people did it differently in their childhood.
Well, mine sounds pretty basic. I would just, tell Mum and Dad the night before that, my tooth is very loose. It's probably going to come out overnight. And I'd wake up and, put it under my pillow, the tooth, and I'd wake up and there'd be a $2 coin there. But I did play a bit of a prank on my parents once. I did tell them that I actually did have a loose tooth. I full-on knew they were going to put the $2 under my bed. So as soon as I felt that, they took the tooth, they replaced it with the $2 coin, I said to Mum the next day, the tooth fairy hasn't come. Has the tooth fairy come? It hasn't come. And he gave me another $2. So that's how I got some more money out of it.
Cashing in.
I know. It's how you got to make money when you're a kid.
Yeah.
Your parents. Or the tooth fairy.
They might have thought that your brother came in and took the $2 and then buggered off again.
Well, I'm not proud of this, but I did blame it on my brothers. Yeah.
Oh, that's
They've
awesome.
long forgotten about it now, so it's all fine. But yeah, I'd often blame it on them because they did have a tendency to steal stuff that wasn't theirs.
The way that it would happen in my family, and this I know that a lot of other people did this whole process as well. You would have a loose tooth, it would come out, and then you would put that tooth in a glass of water. And then you would sit it up on the windowsill in like the kitchen or something like that. And then mum and dad would say, oh, the tooth fairy will come tonight. And when you wake up in the morning, the tooth will be gone and the water will still be in there, but there'll be a little $2 coin in the bottom of it or something like that. And so I'd wake up the next morning and there'd be a $2 coin in the bottom of the water still in the glass. And, you know, sorry, weird stuff going on outside my house right now.
Oh, tangent, what's going on? Is there robbers?
Not much, just people driving in and out and all over the place. But yeah, so basically I would wake up in the morning, the $2 coin would be there, and a lot of other people that I know kind of went through this same kind of situation as well. And the reason why it was this situation for them is because a lot of people's kids were such light sleepers that if you went with the traditional form of, you know, put it under their pillow and then you put a $2 coin under their pillow and take the tooth away during the night, too many kids were waking up and just seeing their parents, you know, put a $2 coin under their pillow and take this tooth away. And then the tooth fairy was just like non-existent in their life.
Oh, that's fantastic. It's like when Santa Claus comes, you know, I mean, I'm sure kids are just waiting for Santa Claus to come out and trying to sprang him out as soon as he would come in. Actually probably not Santa Claus.
But yeah, I would love to know what the process is for other people's families. So if you want to share the process of as far as the tooth fairy coming and, you know, taking the tooth, leaving the money behind, were you a family who had the kind of glass of water thing like me? Did you leave it under your pillow, or did you have a whole different scenario going on? Leave a voicemail at our Tumblr account right now, weirdnewsweekly.tumblr.com, and tell us what your process was, and get the details on this story at our Tumblr page, as well as at Weird News Weekly on Twitter as well. Reid, this is kind of a weird one that involves some very high buildings. We have something kind of similar to this here in Australia, up in Melbourne, as far as the Eureka Sky Deck is concerned. You can kind of go out the side of the building and then there's just glass floor underneath you and you can see how far down it is and all that kind of stuff. But this one actually involves a slide from, is it building to building?
No, it's just one building. So unlike those, procedures where you got guys, walking from one building on top to the other building.
The tightrope walkers.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yes, thank you. You put the words in my mouth. No, this is actual one building. So just picture it in your mind. I mean, there's many of these big skyscrapers over in New York, which is where this story comes from. This is just one building. So it's one skyscraper. And what it is a slide that goes from one floor outside to another floor. So it's from the 70th floor to the 69th floor, an actual slide made of this really thick inch glass. You go from the outside of the building from one floor to another floor.
Please tell me it's a fully enclosed slide.
Oh, it is a fully enclosed slide. There's
Thank
no
goodness.
way, no. You're going to, go out of the slide midway through and fall out and fall onto the road of New York. No, this is a fully encaptured slide, which we'll put on our social medias. And it is an actual thing. Like, this has just been, it's finally ready for people to use. It's part of the new US Bank Tower building, which is about to be launched. They had their launch party just recently.
Right.
Snoop Dogg was performing for the crowd, so he was on the list. I don't know how you get Snoop Dogg to perform, but good on them. They've obviously got some good connections.
Quick tangent.
Ooh,
every time I hear the name Snoop Dogg now, after seeing Pitch Perfect 2, every time Snoop Dogg's name is mentioned, I just hear groovy like a drive-in movie.
He's not really known for his acting credentials, but he has done other films.
His one-liners are so awesome, though.
Yeah, if you want to get some vintage Snoop Dogg, have a look at the film Starsky and Hutch.
Oh, okay.
That he did a few years ago. He was in that film and he was fantastic. He had his final scene where he has a golf club and he smashes this guy over the head with it.
Yeah.
It's a bit violent, but it's quite funny. And he has a line after. I don't know what the line is, but the line he says, spot on, and he just nailed that scene. Yep. But back to the building, it's part of a $68 million renovation. So it's a building already in existence. They've done a lot of these works to it, costing $68 million. But this is the thing, if you want to actually use the slide, it's going to cost you $40 American, so I think it's about $33 Australian, to go up to the building, to the top. And then you're going to pay an extra $10 to use the slide.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I think
It's a
that gives you
pricey slide.
one... I know. I mean, why don't you just go to a park and use a slide? This one, they're actually charging you to use a slide. I think it's going to be the only one that they're charging to use a slide, apart from, parks and all that sort of stuff, like theme parks sort of things.
Yeah.
Massive slides. But $10, now I'm not sure if it's one go at the slide or if it's 2 goes at the slide. I'd want to at least try this twice.
Yeah, I reckon.
I don't know. Once wouldn't be enough. You want to get a bit of a feel for it,
Well, yeah, unless it's like, you pay your entrance fee is, and then you pay to use the slide as many times as you like, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, possibly, but it seems... Because the slide, by the way, it only goes for about 4 seconds.
Oh, really?
So after 4 seconds, that's how quick it is.
Well, yeah, because I guess it's only...
Speed.
Did you say 70th floor to the 69th floor?
Yeah.
So it's literally only
floor.
just out and in.
Yeah, pretty much. So that's how quick it is. So 4 seconds and you're done.
I'd love to see...
So that's how the slide.
I'd love to see this happen again, but on a bigger scale. So, like, you start from, like, the 70th floor, and it completely goes around and around and around and around the whole building, like, just this big spiral all the way down the building, like, to, like, level 10 or something like that. That'd be so cool.
Possibly, but I must say, look, it is an interesting idea, because as you mentioned at the top of the story, we do have the Eureka Sky Deck up in Melbourne with that. I think they call it the Skybox, or that might be a word I've just made up. But that's quite scary in itself. I haven't done it. I have tried to do it, but I don't think I will. This one, though, I think if it's like they just want to really scare people. Hey, come to our building and we're going to scare the crap out of you by going on a slide. I've seen some news reporters do this story. Nearly every reporter I've seen do the slide are just yelling and screaming for it to be over. They don't want to do it.
It kind of makes me wonder, if it gets really hot, like, when you go to the park on a really hot day and you try and slide down the slide and you get butt burn?
Oh, don't.
What's it going to be like on the 70th floor, closer to the sun, on a really hot day, going down a glass slide?
Because the only thing that they use to go down the slide is like some sort of sheeting or some sort of cloth.
Oh, so there is something underneath you then?
Yeah. So it's not just your clothes onto the glass. You've got to go on this sort of protective cloth to actually go down the slide in. So, but for 4 seconds, is it really worth it? Is it really worth it? I just don't know. I don't think it is.
Well, let's think about this, though. The people who are hating it so far, let's count this out here. And just go, okay, they're starting their slide, they're outside and they're freaking out. 4 seconds, you're done.
Done. Yeah.
What's so crazy about that?
You're up so high. The whole time you're up there, you're going to be thinking, I'm going to fall out of this. I'm going to fall out of the sky. I'm going to fall out of the sky onto the road. Because it's literally on the edge, on the outside of the building.
Yeah.
So you're going from the outside of the building onto the next floor. Now, look, it is only one floor. Okay, it's not some sort of 20-floor, slide, but it's still scary enough. I just don't know why anyone would want to do it. I mean, you could do it as a dare, but
have you actually done the whole experience at the Eureka Tower?
I have gone up to the top, but as far as going on that freakish box thing where you're going out on top of the road, no.
Yeah.
I know.
I don't get what everyone's hang-up is about it, though, because I did it last year. And when I was going out in the box, like, obviously there's not only me and the people who I'm with, but there's other people in there as well, because you're going to have up to, I think, 6 people in there at a time. And it's kind of got me thinking, why are you freaking out about this? They wouldn't have built it if they thought that you were going to fall out of here. Like, it's not a big deal. Everyone who's in there is like staying really close to the edges and grabbing hold of something on the wall, just going, oh my goodness, he's going to turn the light off and then it's going to see through the floor. Oh my God.
I could probably do it, but I tell you what, this slide thing, I've seen so much vision of it. I don't know, because as they come down on the landing, because as they're coming, because it's sort of they go around and then down, but as they go down, there's like 2 people who are waiting for you to come down the slide to sort of block you from smacking into the edge of the glass. So they're like two people just waiting to stop you.
Yeah.
Now, more often than not, you do land on the mat without any help. But there's going to be that one guy that goes down way too faster than they thought, and they need to have people there to sort of stop you from smashing into the glass.
Well, that was even like when I was a kid. I think it was about year 7. We went to my class went to one of the local swimming pools here. I think a Splashdown, the one out the other side of Geelong that has the big enclosed slide on it.
Yeah.
This guy was just going up to the top of the slide and literally grabbing hold of the bar over the top of the entrance to the slide and swinging into it and launching himself into this slide like crazy, picking up so much speed going down that when he came down the final little bit of a dip that you go down, he was flipping from side to side on the slide, and as he came out the hole, clipped his eyebrow on the slide, and it burst his eyebrow open, and he had to go to the hospital. And they had to shut down the water slide because there was blood all in the pool.
But he would have been the coolest kid.
Oh, he had like the best story for the next 3 years.
The girls would have loved him. Mm-hmm. Or the guys wanted to be him.
But if you want to share your thoughts on this story, head to our Tumblr account, weirdnewsweekly.tumblr.com. Leave us a voicemail right there. You can get the details on this story there. Also at Weird News Weekly on Twitter as well. Reid, a story out of Trussville, Alabama, this one. A teenager has received some help from local fire authorities after she got herself stuck inside the head of a Barney the dinosaur costume.
Of all the things.
Yeah. Now, apparently what it was is she was at her local church, I think it was, for a sleepover thing that was going on at her church. And with that, she's found this Barney head from the costume, like, off in one of the cupboards of the church. And she was going to try and scare her friends with it. But she's only like this little petite girl. So this costume was obviously made for a fully grown adult. And she's gone to put this head on her head, and it's kind of swallowed her shoulders as well. And then she's become wedged in there with her shoulders and her head stuck in there.
Oh, my goodness.
So apparently she was stuck in there for quite some time, and her friends were actually trying to get the head off of her actual head and shoulders, obviously, and they did the usual thing that you would do. Someone grabs hold of the head, the other person grabs hold of her feet and just tries and rips the two things apart from each other. And it wasn't really working. It was just getting more of her stuck in there.
Oh, dear.
Because it seemed like the more that they pulled on her legs and pulled on the mask that was over her head, the more her shoulders would actually tense up into it, and it would just pull more of her arms in there. So more and more of her was getting stuck inside this head as they were trying to get her out of there.
Oh, the poor thing.
Now, they've called the local fire authority, and the fire brigade's come along, and as soon as they've walked in the room, one of the firefighters has said, and I quote, "You couldn't help but laughing as soon as you walked in." That's so good that they've walked in there and just gone, okay, serious situation, she's got a Barney head stuck on her head.
Oh, that's fantastic.
But Bruno was one of the fire brigade or firemen. That's the word that I'm looking for. He was one of the firemen that was there, and he said he's been working 33 years on the job, and it was the most unique thing that he's ever been called out to.
And I'm sure they're seeing a lot of horrible things in their time. To see something funny like this. Oh,
yeah. Now, I'm just trying to see if there's any details on how they actually did get her out of there in the end, but I don't think there is. By the looks of things with the pictures and stuff, they've used, I'm guessing, some sort of lubricant to actually free her from the Barney head from the costume. So whether they've just had lathered it in whatever and it's just kind of slid off her, but yeah. And there's one picture here of just one of the firemen just laughing his ass off.
Which poses the question, though. Have you ever been stuck awkwardly and you need help to get out?
I don't know if you've seen, there's a episode of Modern Family where Luke gets his head stuck between the two rungs on the staircase.
I think I have, yeah.
I have actually done that.
Oh, hello, story time.
Yeah.
Explain.
There's not really much of a story. I was just walking down the stairs one day at our old house, and I was just like, oh, does my head fit in here? It fit, but it didn't want to come back out again.
Oh, man.
So, yeah, we had to just get, like, some cooking oil and put it on my ears so they would slide through and get me back out again.
I don't think I've actually been stuck awkwardly before. I'm going back over my childhood. I can't recall any stories where I had heads or limbs stuck anywhere. So maybe I'm too precious about being stuck or getting any broken bones or getting injured. So
there was a big thing, I don't know if it happens all that much these days, but there was a big thing back in the 90s of kids getting their fingers stuck in the plug hole in the shower.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that?
What happened to those? Yeah, that was massive in those days.
Because it was like something that kids wanted to see where the water goes, so they put their fingers down there to see where the water went. And as soon as you put your fingers in there, your fingers are just going to swell up because it's so constricted and there's water flowing over your fingers. So it's just going to make them thicker and thicker, and then your fingers will get stuck in the plug hole. So anyone who's listening or watching this right now, don't stick your fingers down the plug hole. It's one of the stupidest things that you can do.
Yeah, this is a don't try this at home scenario.
Yeah, definitely not.
I can't recall any of my brothers or my parents in that sort of situation. I mean, we had growing up cats, stuck under the house sort of thing, but that's very much a typical sort of a thing they do. But as far as me personally, no, I can't recall any time where I've actually been stuck.
One random story I actually can give you was when I was younger, I think it was probably about 13, 14 years old, we had a big bird cage out in the backyard that we had a whole heap of budgies in. And when, like, basically the front of the bird cage was all just that chicken wire that's all like the little squares.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we had that on the front of the bird cage, and one morning we've walked out there and it looked like something was hanging from the chicken wire. And we've walked over to the bird cage and we're like, that's a really fat mouse. Because
no.
Apparently, and we didn't know this at the time, bird cages are a big attraction for mice because they eat the bird seed.
Oh.
Now, the problem is they get themselves into the cage through the chicken wire because they're skinny at that time because they haven't eaten a lot by the time they go in there. But they go in there and they gorge themselves on birdseed and then they get really fat and bloated and they can't get back out again. They get stuck in the chicken wire.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And
I haven't heard of that before.
Because he was there and he was still alive, but he was just stuck in his midsection, just wiggling around like crazy trying to get out of there. And so we actually got a stick and held it up for him, and like with his little mouse claws, he actually grabbed hold of the stick and was trying to pull himself out and like try and pull himself through. It was the weirdest thing ever, and like we could not get him out of there at all. And in the end, Mum just ended up putting on a rubber glove and just grabbing hold of it and just pulling it out of there and throwing it in the garden. And he just kind of ran off somewhere, I guess. But really, really weird situation.
Oh, that is fantastic. I was not aware of that stuff like that happening.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the only equivalent would be where, dogs get stuck in the cat's door. You know how some doors have that sort of little cat flap thing in the door? I've seen there's tons of YouTube videos with dogs just stuck halfway through. They can't get out.
Yeah.
And they need someone to get a stick or to push them out, and there's no way to do it. So fat animals getting stuck.
Tell us, though, anyone listening or watching this right now, tell us where you have been stuck as a kid, or maybe even an adult, somewhere that you've been stuck as well. Give us a voicemail at our Tumblr account, weirdnewsweekly.tumblr.com. Leave us a voicemail right there and get the details on this story at our Tumblr page and at Weird News Weekly on Twitter as well. So, Reid, you mentioned that your high school reunion is coming up soon, and with that, you're not 100% sure how this all plays out, if you should go, how it all happens once you get there, and all that kind of stuff. What's going on here?
Well, a few months ago, I got the invite on Facebook, as all invites are done nowadays, and I was aware that this year has been 10 years since I last finished high school. I went all the way to, year 12, graduated, all that sort of stuff, and that was 10 years ago, so it's all in the past. And then I got the invite on Facebook, and I'm a bit curious, and I'm going to ask you this, because I was never sure how high school reunions worked, because I was always under the impression that someone at the school was the one to organise them, but maybe a student takes it upon themselves to organise the high school reunion.
Well, yeah, with mine...
And in my case, the student has.
With mine, it was the school captains the year that I was in year 12. they were the ones that got together and were just like, okay, we need to organise the school reunion for our graduating class of 2003 was when I graduated. So 2013 was our reunion that happened, and not many people actually went. They did this big, massive Facebook group, and it was like, add people who you know, who you're still friends with on Facebook from year 12, and, you know, get people involved and coming along. I think out of our whole graduating class, there was about maybe 25 people that went. So it was not a big thing at all. And all it was, all they did was organised a weekend tour of the school to see how the school had changed since we left. And then they went out on the town and just got absolutely smashed.
Of course they did, because that's what a lot of these high school reunions, I guess, are probably for. But the thing is, though, I've had a few questions of these, and I don't think a lot of other people or, you know, students have had that sort of question themselves. But for me, I haven't responded to the invite. I haven't clicked that yes or maybe. I haven't done anything. I've just let it go. It's still in my, you know, event invite feed, so I'm just not even going there. I've had a look at who's going versus who's not going. It seems there's more people in the maybe option than the actual going option as well. Because, look, for me, you know, high school for me wasn't a great experience. It wasn't a bad experience. It was just okay. You know, I got through high school okay, and I guess for the most part, that's what a lot of students want from their high school experience, just to get through it and to, you know, move on. It's one chapter of our lives that we've done. It's been a long time since we've done it, but I've got no reason not to go. You know, I'm not looking for an excuse not to go, but I've got no reason not to go, and I just don't know if a high school reunion has any calls for existence anymore in our life, because we have social media and all that sort of stuff.
I think the sad thing about it, though, is that a lot of people are using the high school reunion these days to judge where they're at in their life in comparison to other people that they knew in their graduating year. So they're kind of comparing their life now to how someone else has turned out. Like, say, the footy star at your high school in year 12. Is he a fat bum? Is he a fat bum now? Because, like, that would make everyone feel better if he was. And if he's not, then everyone's going to be disappointed and drink themselves into a stupor that night.
Well, that's the thing I was also thinking of, the whole, you know, we're going to be looking at what other people are doing since their high school days and what they're doing nowadays. I was going through the people that I went to high school with. A lot of them are still in the area. Like, they haven't moved interstate or anywhere else. They're still pretty much in the area. There's only, like, less than a handful who have actually moved interstate, and there's only one I know of who is living in America nowadays. So a lot of them are actually still in the area that I, you know, went to. So I don't know. It's just it's brought up a lot of these sort of questions I haven't really thought of since high school finished. Because for me, you know, high school was just one of those okay experiences. You know, I got through it. It was okay, but you know, there's no real reason for me to go and attend, because I looked at this the other day. I'm literally one of the only ones, like a handful now, that hasn't gotten married, hasn't gotten kids, isn't living off, you know, on my own house or anything, living this sort of grand old life. I'm just living an okay kind of life. And, you know, personally for me, I'm not in two minds about going or not. It's just, you know, I don't really see why we need high school graduations anymore. I can see there'd be good things to go to. You know, it'd be good to catch up with people you haven't seen in a long time. But if you really want to do that, wouldn't you just call them or just, you know, ask them on Facebook, hey, I haven't seen you for a while, let's catch up.
Well, that's the whole thing. Like, obviously, after you finish high school, there's the people who you're still going to hang out with, and you'll start to, you know, lose contact with some of those people over the years. But a lot of people are still really good friends with a lot of their core group of high school friends these days.
Yeah, look, I've got 2 or 3 that I've got from high school that I'm still good friends with in my current life. But I was sort of thinking this the other day, if I do go to this high school reunion, it doesn't look like it's anything too flash. It's just at like a nightclub sort of spot in the area. And I thought, what if I go there and straight away I don't know anyone, because there's all these other people who have been invited, like people who have been in the same graduating year but started off back in, I think it was 2001, and people who I've never heard of before. I thought, who's that person? I don't know that person. I know a lot of people who I went to high school with, but I certainly don't know you. I don't know who she is. And I think, I know what's going to happen. I'm going to get there, and I'm not going to know a single person there. I could go with a few friends, but I don't know if they're going to go.
Yeah.
And I just have this feeling I'm going to go there. I'm not going to know a single person. And as soon as I get there, I'm just wanting to get out of there. I don't want that to happen. You know, I want it to be if I do go, I want it to be a good, positive experience. And I don't know, but I was thinking about it the other day, the whole personal thing. Like, I'm a single childless guy. A lot of them are getting married. Since this happened, by the way, about, I don't know, I think we got the invite probably 2 months ago. About 10 people, might be a bit less than 10, have since gotten engaged.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, we're going to be bringing I'll have partners and all our kids here. I'm just going to be bringing myself.
Well, see, that's the whole thing, because, like, obviously when I went to when mine was happening back in 2013, there was a whole heap of people there who, like you said, were already married, already had kids, already had their lives established and had certain jobs and all that kind of stuff, and they were supporting a family and whatever. And even now, at this point in 2016, I have a partner, we have a house and all that kind of stuff, but we still don't have kids, we're still not married just yet, but we do have those things waiting for us on the horizon. And, you know, it's kind of, like I said, judging your lifestyle off what someone else is doing. People would almost look at you and just go, seriously, dude, you're 30. Shouldn't you be married by now? And shouldn't you have kids by now? Like, what's going on? And yeah, it's just one of those things that hasn't happened yet. So it's no big deal.
Yeah, and look, we've all got different, you know, experiences from our high school days, and some are good, some are bad, but I don't know, it just brought up all these sort of questions and feelings about high school days, and I think, look, it was 10 years ago.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, the thing is, like, why are these reunions only exclusive to high school? I mean, do we have primary school reunions? I mean, my primary school, because I think you spend more time at primary school than you do at high school.
Yeah. It's kind of one of those weird situations, but maybe we need to get some feedback from people to help you out here as far as our voicemail system is concerned. Maybe some people can tell you about their experiences with their high school reunions as well. So weirdnewsweekly.tumblr.com. Leave us a voicemail right there, just using the voicemail widget on the side of the page on your desktop, or you can use the SpeakPipe app as well, because that's what our voicemail system is through. So if you're on your smartphone, get the SpeakPipe app and leave us a voicemail just through Weird News Weekly right there on the app, and get us a voicemail coming our way so we can help Reid out as far as his high school reunion is concerned.
I need all the help I can get, all the advice, because I'm just in two minds about going or not going.
So
help me out.
As we said, weirdnewsweekly.tumblr.com and at Weird News Weekly on Twitter. So Reid, that is our first show of the Weird News Weekly era, all said and done.
I feel that went pretty well. You know, for the show, I was looking forward to it. We spoke about some pretty cool stuff, and I think it was great. It
feels very good to be back once again in our new format, our podcasting format here, and it's all over the place for people to check out as well.
Yeah, it's not just in one place. There's many options, many ways you can get in touch and, let us know what you think of the show.
So previously the show was just on Soundcloud and Stitcher. Now we're on iTunes as well, so rate and review the show on iTunes. But as well as that, you can also subscribe to us on YouTube and see a video version of the show. Search Weird News Weekly on YouTube, subscribe to us right there, and watch a video version of the show as well. But don't forget, most importantly, I think, we want your voicemails to be part of the show as well. So weirdnewsweekly.tumblr.com. You'll see the little voicemail widgets on the side of the page there on your desktop. Click that little button and leave us a voicemail concerning one of the stories on the show, or to just, say hi, and we'll actually use your voicemails in the show and play them back and respond to whatever you've, had to say about the stories.
Yeah, absolutely. Get in touch.
And also at Weird News Weekly on Twitter. Leave us all your feedback right there and check out the links for the stories. But that's pretty much all said and done for this week, and we'll catch you with another show next week. I've been Ben Rogers, he has been Reid Marnie, and that's pretty much us signing off.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to rate and review the show on iTunes and follow on Twitter and Tumblr for more details on the covered stories. Just search Weird News Weekly. You can also be part of the show and give us your opinions on a story by sending a voicemail via the SpeakPipe app, or just click the voicemail link on the Tumblr page. Spoken by Sarah D and sped up like this because we like the way it sounds on the government ads.